connection fee hopefully being apportioned over a period of time.
And is there any way we can ask the POA to hold a bond until all those are paid?
Well, I was thinking that we should probably get a copy of the covenants
Okay.
to see, what the requirements are
Okay.
in that document, because generally they do have, powers to, insure certain types of actions,
Okay.
payment of fees, or if they levy assessments. And so I think it would be a good idea to get that document and then see if there are ways that we can, the county could work with the POA to ensure payment, in every number of ways.
Sure.
And if that would permit them to hold a bond or, enter into an agreement where, they would try to seek payment, to the county if that were permitted under their covenants. But we should look at that and come up with every way available.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that I don't want to do the project. What I'm saying is that I want some sort of guarantees on the connection fees and that type of stuff, because we are spending county money and it is tight.
And everyone in the community is well aware of that, and the people in the community all understand that on date X, when and if the system is turned over to the county, they're responsible to pay both, again, their monthly water bill plus their connection fee on whatever schedule is set, or they don't get water. This isn't a system where people have an option. People are not going to have an option to stay with either an individual well, which is precluded by the covenants, or rely upon us to provide water, because there's one system, and the system on date X is turned over to the county, and they pay the county, or it's like anything else. If you don't pay your bill, you get shut off. If you don't pay REC for your electricity, you don't get electricity. If you don't pay the county for water, you don't get water.
I understand that, but if we shut off water, it still doesn't get us paid.
Well,
And that's what I'm getting at. I want some sort of guarantee from somebody out there, in a bond or something from the POA or somebody, which would not cost you a gob of money, that would at least ensure that we got our monies up front and would make you responsible for going back if we absolutely had to. But I'm not sure how that would all work. I need to get the legalese on that. So, like I said, I'm not against your project, don't get me wrong, but I want to ensure that the county is paid up front for its connection fees or whatever we need to do.
well, we got 360 families. They're all committed and want this project, and they're willing to pay the connection fee, which pays the substantial cost of the project.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And perhaps you look at, you're dividing the bond up between, 360 folks. It may not be all that bad after all. So, something we can still look at. But what I like,
I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Yeah. All right, so if we can, staff has, identified that, we need to look at a funding mechanism and also authorizations to go the bid. So I guess basically that's where we are if motion's at, but also, to look at the opportunities of the bond for the connection fees as an option.
How much of the $2.1 million, John, is for lines work inside of Caroline Pines?
The total for work inside Caroline Pines is slightly over $367,000.
Oh, 367.
367 and change, yes.
So you're looking at about 1.8 to get it to them.
Let's see, we're looking, the work in Ruther Glen is just slightly under 1.1. The crossing of the railroad is about a slightly over 70,000. Miscellaneous work along the way, clearing, grubbing, etc., 85,000. And then the rest of it is in as markup, which would be the contractor's profit and any contingencies. So It'd be, the Caroline Pines portion would pick up some of that also. So it'd probably be about, maybe closer to 1.7, the actual cost to get it down there.
The work that's inside of Caroline Pines, is that something that has to be done in order to make the system what it should be, or is this something we're just trying to maybe replace some lines, what have you, inside of the community?
The initial work we're doing, that we're proposing to do inside of Caroline Pines, really is to run a single large line up the main drag of the community, which would then tie all of the smaller side mains into a larger diameter main, which would give them better feed. It would also give them some fire protection, at least along those lines. What they have now is the lines really are not big enough for fire protection.
Okay, so it's for fire protection and those type of things.
And also to get a large diameter right down the spine of the community, so that then when we did go in with our replacement project over X years, 10 years, whatever it takes, there would at least be that initial large diameter new line to then work off of and loop around.
I'm still in support of the project, like I've said from the beginning. I'm just trying to see if we could reduce the cost to the point where it would take some of the concerns from some of the board members as to whether it's going to be paid for or not be paid for.
Right, the project, the 12-inch diameter line, it also lays out a blueprint for the future in the event that we ever want to tie into the Richmond line, right down the power line from Caroline Pines, gives us the opportunity for the future as a possibility to, network into another line, have a loop system. As we talked about earlier, it may take us a while to get to, and Mr. Popovich knows this, it may take us a while to get to Rappahannock River. But if we wanted a line to get us quicker to the Richmond line, this is another viable option.
Yes,
It
and
only puts us
actually,
closer.
in the discussions that we've been having along those lines with Richmond, of course, there are several different routes that we can take, but this would be at least a portion of one of those routes. So it would have some future benefit in that regard.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we'd like to, we talked to the citizens here. They've been here. We've discussed it. This is real. I apologize. I think a little early I may have gotten a little excited, but I'm very compassionate about this because these people have came here and they have said, we need your help. And I don't know what more we need. I understand the issue about the bond. I think that's something we certainly can explore. But we just keep putting this off and putting it off. I don't think it's going to really help this community. And I'd like to see us go ahead and get it moving forward. The reports have said, even with conservative numbers at the $2.6 million figure, now we're down at the $2.1 million figure. So the numbers that Mr. Borchek has provided, that the system would pay for itself. And I know, even with the conservative numbers that we used, the actual connections are higher already than the numbers that we've used. So there's still right many lots left. So if we could move it forward, I'd like to see this, that we give staff the option that they had identified so that we can identify a funding mechanism as well as, the proposal for bids.
Mr. Chairman, if we ask staff to move forward, they're going to basically put together an RFP, release the RFP, and we haven't actually spent any money until that RFP comes back. Right?
With the exception of any fees that might be on the permits, you don't spend any money until the contractor's awarded after the RFP, except for advertising the RFP, of course.
Right. And considering the, I can't find the right adjective, but considering the circumstances, we can move together. I know there's some questions on the bond, there's some questions on some other things, but we can answer those questions while you put together an RFP and release an RFP, right?
Yes, because even some of the issues like concerning easements and things of that nature, once we know that we can at least get the project out on the street, we can start addressing those issues with the property owners. And of
Okay.
course, with the board to see just what kind of negotiations you would authorize us to get into, so.
So I'd love to say if we pass a motion to move forward, that solves your water problems, but it really just gets us another step to finally doing it. So, I feel for you. I had a shallow well and it went dry, and I had to make the choice of flushing the toilet or taking a shower, and it's not a good choice. I figured out how to use it. I used the shower water later, but it's not a good choice to make. So I'm going to make a motion that we move ahead with the process, and I'll let someone else make a motion to make sure we fix all the other questions you have. So the motion is to move ahead with the process for now.
I'll second it with the, if you'll be willing to amend your motion, that we also look at the bond issue and also look at the funding mechanism as what would be more advantageous to us, the VRA or the...
Right, and that was my intention as far as the funding mechanism as part of the original motion, but I will amend my motion to include the things Mr. Popowitz has stated.
Okay. You
Second.
agree to that? All right. Motion been made to move the process ahead. And motion was seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. All right, motion carries. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, next item, we have the new business, the first reading of proposed section 103-25 through section 103-42 Code of Caroline County permanent decals. Mr. Parton.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. During a previous meeting, the board expressed interest in eliminating the requirement for an annual vehicle license in favor of a permanent decal. And as a result, the treasurer, the commissioner of revenue, and staff have developed a proposed ordinance for your consideration tonight as a first reading. I'm going to present the framework of the ordinance. I have with me tonight Beth Curran and also Anita Newchok and Christy Nilo from the Commissioner's Office to help me with any details that the board may have. Probably need to explain a little bit of nomenclature before I get started. There are some terms that are used in the ordinance and used in general that are interchangeable, but I wanted to mention them. The decal is most commonly referred to as a county sticker, so you hear that term. But for the purposes of the new ordinance, it's referred to as a permanent license or a permanent license decal. Again, the terms are interchangeable. Under the new ordinance, the treasurer would begin selling permanent decals in February next year. And once the permanent license has been obtained, citizens wouldn't have to purchase a new one for as long as they own the vehicle. Citizens who purchase a new or used vehicle would be required to file an application with the commissioner for a permanent license within 10 days of the date of the purchase, and that mirrors state law. And new residents would be required to purchase a permanent license within 30 days of moving into Caroline County, again mirroring state law. Beginning in 2012, the owner of a vehicle which does have a permanent decal would be assessed what's called an annual registration fee by the commissioner, which is equivalent to the cost of the decal. And that fee would replace the revenue lost by the annual sale of the decals and would be added to the personal property, first half of the personal property tax due June 5th. The ordinance also proposes the following. The number of classifications or the schedule of fees would be changed from 21, which is in the current ordinance, to 2. The only remaining classifications would be motor vehicles and motorcycles and similar two-wheel vehicles. Decals would no longer be required for trailers or semi-trailers, which includes campers. The proposed fee that is in the ordinance for the board's consideration as a starting point anyway is $35 for all vehicles with the exception of $28.75 for motorcycles and light vehicles. That is the maximum allowed for motorcycles by state code. Mrs. Curran pointed out to me today, and she's probably right, that if we're going to do that, we should probably go with an even number, not make it $28.75, round it off to an even number. The comparable current fees, and again, there are many, there are 21 separate fees, but the bulk of them that would relate, that you can compare to what I just suggested, it's $23 for most vehicles, vehicles up to 4,000 pounds, which covers the bulk of the stickers, $28 for vehicles over 4,000 pounds, and $41 for trucks or tractors if the combined weight exceeds 10,000 pounds. According to calculation made by the commissioner, if you enacted the fees that I have suggested, it would result in approximately $950,000 of revenue annually, which is about $355,000 more than what's included in the adopted budget for fiscal year 11. And that number that was included in the adopted budget was based on an increase, I think, of $3 in all the major categories. So to give you some perspective there. And that's basically an overview, concludes my presentation. Again, I have some help to answer detailed questions. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Okay, Mr. Parton, we appreciate the overview of the first reading. We ask the board members that have questions. Ms. Popovich, you have questions on the first reading?
No, I don't have any questions. I think that this has been long overdue, and I think we need to move forward with it.
Okay, Mr. Eggers, I know you had a question about the amounts.
Yeah, my only question is, Mr. Pardon, have we done any analysis on various increases in the fees? Instead of going to $35, have we looked at what the revenue would be for if we went to $33 or $31 or $30? We're looking at a $12 increase for each car. Well, it says an average of three, but I mean, that's on all the 21 categories, I guess. But we're looking at, right now we've charged you $23 for a decal for car, and we're going to $35. That seems a little steep to me.
Okay.
And so I'm just wondering how much revenue we would generate if we went to $30.
I haven't looked at that, but that's a pretty easy calculation. I would think that we could.
Okay. I'd like to see those numbers as to what we're looking at as far as intervals, rather than just looking at jumping $12 a vehicle.
If you go from 29, which is half, then you would generate half the revenue. So instead of $949 annual, it would be half of that. So $480, whatever, $490.
Well, $949 is at total of $35.
He
So
said,
if we-
okay, he said the total of $592 has been budgeted,
Right. That was
but the
five
new
minutes.
estimate would be $949.
Right, but they had only assumed $3
Okay.
per category.
So the difference in the increase is $350,000 for $12. Make the math easy. Say $360,000 for $12, so you could divide from there.
Yeah, about $180.
That sound good to you, Mr. Parton?
I would never argue with your numerical skills, Mr. Tom. Much more talented than I am in that part.
I think
Thank you, I
we've
appreciate
talked and we've agreed that, there needs to be an increase in the cost, just to cover any possibilities of that may present itself when we go to this permanent decal. But I'm just concerned with from 23 to 35. That's hitting people pretty good.
So every,
Okay, so we certainly want some numbers,
Right.
some different numbers.
Yeah, if we could
Give
have
us
some
an idea.
different numbers as to how it's going to impact.
Right.
give us the
Revenue as well.
And we have time for some leeway on this, I'm pretty certain. Huh?
Evening.
Hi.
We have done the figures on $30 for your cars, pickups, RVs, and trucks, and we came up with $792,360. And we did $25 on motorcycles, and that was $22,025, which would give a total, not including, does not take into consideration your free decals or reduced rate decals, of $814,385.
And that's at $30 and $25.
Yes, sir.
Could you give me those numbers again? Those
Okay.
last year?
For $30, that was on your cars, pickups, RVs, and your big trucks. It would be $792,360, and $25 on motorcycles, be $22,025, for a grand total of $814,385.
We get basically $30,000 in revenue for every dollar we raise it. Kind of close.
Kind of close.
Fuzzy math, but it's close enough for us to kind of understand. So if we raise it $1, we get 30,000. If we raise it $3, we get 90,000, and so on and so on.
And I think $30 is probably a good number that we would could use. That's increasing $7, and I think that's fair.
210 and change.
Yeah,
And-
because we have not raised, I cannot remember the last time we raised the decal cost. It's probably been 15 years or more.
Not sure.
Yeah, I cannot
Right.
remember the last time we raised the decal. Yeah,
It was 20 once.
yeah, probably 25 years ago, 20 years
Can't
ago.
remember how long ago, but it
Yeah.
was 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What was the number on motorcycles? I'm sorry.
25?
20. Yeah, but
The-
you want to go with 25?
All right, is that a better number for? is
What
that-
are motorcycles currently?
23.
20.
They're 23? Okay, there it is.
No, 20. 20.
They
20.
are-
Yeah, current fee is 20.
Yeah.
And similar two-wheel vehicles are what? Mopeds?
Yeah.
You don't have to have a sticker on a moped.
What about a motor
You
scooter?
don't have to have a
No?
sticker on any of that stuff. You don't have to have a license plate, you don't have to have a sticker.
All right,
Okay, 20, there it is.
Scooters.
so,
It's like $18 now on a motorcycle. Is that
20.
like that?
I found it. I crossed through it with something.
Okay, so those are the numbers we're gonna come back when we go to public hearing, and of course, you don't have to trust me, but we'll get revenue estimates from the Commissioner of Revenue's office.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so I think that's pretty much consensus, we're happy with those numbers.
So move forward with the public hearing with the change in the numbers.
Yes, sir.
Need a motion? I'll make a motion that we move forward with public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion made and proper second, proceed with public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. August 10th? Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Parton.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Thank you.
Want to do this one? All right, item number 8, the discussion of expenditures for Phase 2 of the Don wastewater project. Mr. Parton?
Mr. Chairman, that's me again. As you're well aware, the completion of Phase 1 of the Dawn wastewater project has been a tremendous success for Caroline County. 181 homes and businesses have been hooked up to a wastewater system, and for the first time in a long time, they don't have to worry about their septic systems failing because of the poor soil conditions in the area. And 24 families and individuals have been, their substandard housing has been replaced, and many have indoor plumbing for the first time. Phase 1 was originally intended to serve a larger project area, but was scaled back due to funding restrictions. And as a result of that, the Dawn wastewater team has been working on Phase 2 of the project for some time. The team recognized from the beginning that county money was not going to be available. Little, if any, county money would be available for Phase 2, and so we have been working to pursue grant opportunities to construct Phase 2. And we've had some success to date. We did receive in 2009 a $300,000 STAG grant from the federal government, and SCR CAP, which helped with Phase 1, has also tentatively pledged $100,000 for Phase 2. But without the matching funds necessary, we won't likely be able to access those funds. And the bottom line is no concrete commitments have been secured to date, and adequate funding is not in place to pay for Phase 2. The funding picture is not expected to change until January 2011, when we would hope to get some new opportunities through avenues such as the Water Quality Improvement Fund, perhaps another STAG grant, and also perhaps funding from rural development, which is part of the United States Department of Agriculture. But we've reached a crossroads with the project because no specific money is included in the current year's budget for the Dawn project, and it's virtually for Phase 2. It's virtually impossible to proceed with Phase 2 without spending some local dollars. So one obvious possibility is to simply shut down work and wait until an unknown time in the future when perhaps the financial picture is a little bit better. But in a meeting with the chairman and Eldon James and Mr. Ashcraft, we talked about another possibility, which is to scale back the project and wait until January and look at the funding picture. That would involve spending some local money on two things. One is we've been told that really you can't realistically have any chance at additional grant funds unless you update the preliminary engineering report, the PER. Which has not been done for some time. That would cost about $25,000 is our estimate. And also we would need some continued services from Eldon James and Sue Rowland to continue to help us with the project. Eldon has estimated that cost to be about $8,400. So again, there's no money available. How we would propose to pay for that would be in the professional services line item of the utilities budget. Not new money, money that's already there, but it was not earmarked for that purpose, but that's the source of funds that we would use. And we would hope to recover a portion of our costs, but that I can't stand here and say that's going to happen. That's certainly not guaranteed. So we're at the point where if we're going to continue with the project, we need the board to authorize the expending the local dollars that I just described, or we'll have to start shutting it down and look for another opportunity at some later date. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Parton, thank you. And Mr. Parton is correct. We have talked about the project and where we are, and unfortunately, there's the local dollars just aren't here, and we do we do want to proceed, but I think truly if we expect to proceed, we're going to have to continue just like we did with Phase 1, continue other grant options, and so I noted circumstance that we're all are looking at, so we'll continue to search for the grant opportunities, continue to visit Washington and see if there's maybe more STAG grants and opportunities as well. So we'll continue to pursue those avenues. But I think, you know, the $8,400, you know, really to tie things up with where we are is necessary. And that's pretty much my take on it. If we can, you know, work with what staff has presented and working with Ellen James Associate with the $8,400. And just authorize that expenditure if that's the will of the board. So, questions of Mr. Parton or motion for that expenditure? Would be in order.
I guess I'm confused, though. The $8,400 is to tie up Phase 1?
A portion of it would be to tie up a few Phase 1 issues. The bulk of it, Mr. Popowitz, would be related to Phase 2.
Okay. What about the other 25,000 you alluded to?
The 25,000 is for the update of the PER.
Yes.
That doesn't need to start immediately, but within probably the next 3 months, we would need to get that done.
In the next 3 months. And that's if we wanted to continue with Phase 2 and within the near future, at least get that going.
That's correct.
All right,
I would support the $8,400 to close out Phase 1 and to certainly wrap up the loose ends of Phase 2. I guess my major concern, Mr. Chairman, is the fact that Phase 1, I think, was a success for the county from the standpoint it allowed us to certainly provide some services to people that would not have otherwise been able to get those services. But again, I'm not sure that it was embraced the way that I had hoped it would be embraced from the standpoint. Now, things may have changed, because I haven't asked recently. But I know a number of months ago, it was the fact that there were a lot of unpaid bills, water bills and things of that nature. And so I don't know that it was embraced and accepted the way that I'd hoped that it would be, and I think this board had hoped that it would be. Phase 2, I'm not exactly sure how far we should go with Phase 2 until we're absolutely sure that everybody, that's what they want in that area. I'm not sure that that's the case, you know. But again, I certainly have no problem in supporting the $8,400 and getting, wrapping it up, bringing it down so that it can not just be sitting out there without any resolution to the end of it. But I could not support any other funding other than the $8,400.
all right, and I certainly appreciate that. I know we all have to, right now, there's a lot of tough decisions that has to be made. And, you know, I certainly.
Are you willing for a motion on the $8,400?
The $8,400, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the expenditure of $8,400 to wrap up Phase 1 and to bring Phase 2 to a point where it lies dormant until we find
Until we
some
find
grant
additional
funds.
funding,
Right, until we
grant
find
funding.
grant funding out there. That's my motion.
All right, motion made.
I'll second it.
Motion made and probably second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say.
Is that in the budget, the 8,400?
Coming out of-
They're going to use it out of the
That was in the budget.
utilities,
Okay,
It's professional services.
professional services, yes.
all right.
All right, motion carries. All right, at this time, we'll take a short break.
Oh, thank you, bless your heart.
You're a good man.
Listen.
We'll reconvene the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting. First item, as we return, we have the approval of resolution authorizing the issuance of up to 5.5 million principal amount of revenue anticipated note of Caroline County, Virginia, and providing the form, detail, and payments thereof. Mr. Ashcraft, who's going to present this to us this evening?
Ms. Hatcher, Mr. Parton, or
Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers, any of the staff who'd like to take a stab at it?
I think I got the short straw. Last year, we had to do the revenue anticipation note for $6 million. This year, we're able to cut it down to $5.5 million. This is what keeps our cash flow going. As you know, we collect in June and in December, and then we've got dips in October and at the end of April. Working with the treasurer and looking at the balances at the end of the month and doing our analysis, $5.5 million will keep us in keep the checkbook having positive figures at the end of the month based on what we saw the last 12 months. So the hope is, and what we're due over time, especially until we can get out of this economy, we'll start eating away at this number. Hopefully this time next year we're at 5 or 4.5, or even 4. But it's just going to take a few years to get there until we're able to get additional revenues to build that fund balance back up. And that means net revenues over expenditures. Happy to answer any questions. We sent the RFP out from a timing standpoint. We weren't able to get them back until Thursday. We wanted to make sure we gave the banks enough time. And I do have one in hand, but since I haven't gotten all the others back yet, I don't want to publicly disclose the number, but it is within the parameters that we've set of not to exceed 3%, so we are in good shape there.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Certainly, we know we have been able to reduce this by about 500,000 from the previous year, and the
So
trend.
we have a fund balance? Does that mean we're starting to build a fund balance, I guess, is the question?
From an accounting standpoint, I'm not sure about the answer because you've got assets and liabilities and things like that. From a cash flow standpoint, I think it means that we've turned the corner. We're heading back in the right direction. Yes.
And I guess the number one question I get is, what was the interest payment that we made on the $6 million this year? You got a rough number?
I want to say it's in the $125,000 range.
Okay.
Do you know
Oh,
the exact number?
wow. I know.
That was off, 164. 164?
Okay.
But what is that, Mr. Rogers?
So that was 2.75%, and I can tell you that we'll be much lower than that this year.
Okay. But my question relates to just to make things all even. This is basically just a revenue anticipation note. If the county wanted to have this 5.5 or 6 million, to make the math easy, in the county fund balance, that would represent about an 18-cent increase on the tax rate. If we're saying we get 300,000 per penny,
That's right.
Kind of close.
Yep, you're dead on.
So instead of having an 18-cent tax increase,
Right.
we're basically paying half a cent, 160,000, close to 300,000, to be able to keep our taxes where they are for the most part.
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand the math. And
That's a great way to think about it.
my choices are raise the taxes 18 cents. We don't have to worry about this anticipation bond, or pay half a cent in the tax rate for this particular debt.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other questions of
Or just close the government is the other choice. All right.
Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of up to